off is if you could just introduce yourself, say your name, what field you're in, and then what your role is at your organization. And I will go ahead and kick it off with Nathan, because you are closest to me.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Knott, Staff Sergeant Nathan Knott with the United States Army. I'm currently working as an Army recruiter in the city of Bloomington.
Awesome. And then Erik, you can go ahead.
Hi, good morning. My name is Erik Coyne. I grew up here in Bloomington and attended the Air Force Academy, and then recently retired after 24 years as a judge advocate. So I was an attorney for the Air Force. And I'm currently here in Bloomington in transition, enjoying retirement.
Awesome. Happy retirement. And then Tina, Florentina, do you have a preference?
Tina.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Tina.
So my name is Tina Closser. I work for Crane Navy Base here in Indiana, and I'm a civilian, and I'm an engineer, and I'm currently the STEM coordinator at Crane.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing that little bit about you. So kind of along the lines, I wanted to just ask how your overall career, like how did you get here? What were your steps? Did you go to college? Did you not go to college? What exactly did that look like for you? And we can go ahead and start again with Nathan.
Yes, ma'am. I became interested in my career basically in high school. I started doing computer stuff in high school, and it kind of translated to me going to college to pursue a degree in computer science. I went to college for about 3 years before I decided to join the Army. And I currently have been working in the Army for the last 12 years as a computer network manager for the
Army. Awesome. Erik?
So like I said earlier, I grew up here in Bloomington, and I was actually a basketball player and was interested in playing basketball in college, and had the opportunity to go to the Air Force Academy and continue playing basketball. So I left to go do that, but I don't think you go to a military academy just to play a sport. I was also drawn to military service, and so it was a good fit for me. So I attended the Air Force Academy. I was in a support career field for about 7 years, working base support and a variety of functions, and was offered the opportunity to attend law school. So I attended law school through the Air Force, and then became a JAG. So about the last 15 years of my career, I was a attorney and traveled all over the world in that capacity.
Awesome. Tina, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so I started out as a physics major, and I got about a semester away from graduating and realized that wasn't for me. So I finished that up and then went into engineering, and we had a long tradition of Navy service in my family. My mom, my grandpa, my father, my uncle, they were all in the Navy. But I wanted to serve somehow, but actually joining wasn't an option for me just because of some health concerns I had. So when I interviewed with Crane, it seemed like a really good thing to do. And, that's one of the things we tell kids, that you don't necessarily have to join the military in order to work for the military.
Yeah, I think you guys all had really interesting kind of paths to where you are now. And I think that's really good for them to hear, is that there's all these other ways to be involved in the military, not just through active service, like you said, Tina, but even through these other paths inside of the industry. So with that, kind of going along with that, what are some common misconceptions people have about your field? And how do you think you or the military is combating these misconceptions? And go ahead and start with any of you guys.
I'll go ahead and start. I think there two come to mind. One is the Hollywood image, that we all are door busting, kicking down doors, warmongering, trying to, we all joined because we like going and blowing things up. And I think that is completely inaccurate. And as you are in the military or around the military, you realize the last people that really want to go to war are people in the military, because they have to fight the war. But they signed up because of sense of duty, patriotism, and the willingness to answer that call when called upon. But that doesn't mean they're looking forward to it. And I think that's one big misconception. And panels like this do go a long way towards breaking that stereotype and kind of shattering that myth that, hey, there's a lot of, I never busted down any doors in my 24 years on active service. I had a lot of great experiences. I helped a lot of people, and I think that's the side of the military that people just aren't aware of and don't necessarily appreciate. And I think both Nathan and Tina hit on a good point, and that is, Nathan talked about his IT background, his computer engineering background. Tina at Crane. There are so many career fields that people just are not aware of until you really start exploring it. I was even a bit naive after 4 years at the Air Force Academy of what all we really did once I got on active duty. So I think that's the other misconception. We're not all infantrymen carrying rifles and marching around. There's engineers, mechanics, pilots, you name it, people driving ships. There's all sorts of things being done at a highly technical level at all ranks. And so I think that's another misconception that I throw out there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand that. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Nathan.
I'm sorry. I think he definitely hit it right on the head with the Hollywood perception, as far as everything you see on TV or in movies or on social media. Everything is geared around shooting, bang, bang, war type stuff. And that's kind of the big common misconception about the military as a whole, is that if you go in the Army, that's what you're going to do. And it's so far from the truth. And we try to tell a lot of these kids that we talk to every day that there's so many other opportunities besides just combat situations, combat jobs. I think another one is the fact that people use the military as a last resort more often than not. They want to go out and do other things, and that's perfectly fine. There's no issues with that. But the issue I think that we see more often than not is people wait until they are absolutely in dire straits before they even educate themselves about the Army. And more oftentimes than not, a lot of them find themselves not eligible when they could have at least got the information before and maybe giving themselves another option besides just what the traditional route of going to college or just going straight to work outside of once they graduate high school or college.
And this kind of goes along with what Erik was saying about the stereotype of shooting things up and all that kind of thing. I think when they think about engineers or scientists who work for the military, they think of, again, Hollywood stereotype. We make laser beams that blow things up and, really cool things like that. And I tell the kids who come to visit, I'd say 80 to 90% of the things that we do are things that help people and save people and protect our warfighter out there. It's really mostly to protect them and then bring them home safe and to make their jobs easier. And, very few things I have worked on are to, hurt somebody else. It's mostly to bring somebody home safe.
Charlie, I'd add one thing to what Nathan talked about on, it's not really a misconception, but that last resort comment. particularly in this community that has a really strong education university system with Ivy Tech and with Indiana, and then all the other schools here in Indiana that are there, that oftentimes kids will go to college. I saw a lot of kids that would go to college and then it just wasn't a good fit for them, but they knew that going in. Yet they felt pressure. They felt like, oh, I have to go to college because all my friends are going to college and everybody's going to college. And eventually they find themselves at a recruiter's doorstep. And like Nathan was saying, oftentimes at that point, they're either ineligible for ROTC or they're ineligible for an academy, or they have to go a completely different path to join the military, or they have a long wait to get in the career field that they wanted. So I would really encourage folks to visit early. If you are thinking, oh, I don't know if college is right for me, the benefits you get from the military are incredible. I mean, I have a college degree, I have a BS, I have a JD, I have 3 master's degrees, and I barely paid anything for those 5 degrees. And so that was all through military service. So if you look at it at that, as I'm not quite ready for college, I think that's another stereotype, that it's a last resort of some way. The folks that come in with a plan and they really understand that, hey, this is a stepping stone for me to get my GI Bill, to go to college, to then go to get my MBA, to get my law degree, whatever, and go back to my community and serve my community. Those folks that come in, they do an amazing job. And the folks that kind of come in as a last resort, they struggle a little bit up front, but the vast majority of them figure it out and do well in the end. It's a little bit of a hurdle. So I echo what Nathan said, and highly encourage folks to at least explore the opportunities that are out there while you're young, so you know what's ahead of you. It's no pressure.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. My dad's an Army vet, and he, that I can remember, did not do much actual combat. He, I believe, did computer stuff too. And so I always grew up kind of knowing that, but I know a lot of people around me didn't know those things were an option, that they kind of always thought that, like you guys were saying, that you're out there shooting a bunch of people and that's kind of what you're doing and that's all when you're in the Army, but there's all these other fields that people don't know about. And Erik, you kind of already pointed to this, but what are those benefits on the flip side? What are those things that makes you speak so highly of your time in the military?
Well, I'll let Nathan hit on the specifics. He's a recruiter, so he'll know all the specific details. But it just seemed like at every point in my career there was some sort of opportunity to go off and get some training, and it doesn't necessarily always lead to a master's degree or a degree, but incredible training. I got to jump out of airplanes. I got to fly an airplane. I got trained on how to shoot those guns, but I got a lot of training on, driving big vehicle. I drove a semi-trailer. I drove, ton and a half. I drove Humvees. Like that kind of opportunity, those all exist. But then there's also what we consider the true education benefits. And I'll let Nathan talk a little bit about if he's willing, the GI Bill and some of those things that are a stepping stone for a lot of our folks take advantage of.
Yeah, just speaking of just education benefits in general, you have the ability to be able to serve your country and go to college at the same time, and more often than not, you won't have to pay. You pay little to anything, if anything at all. I know for myself, I'm still attending college now, and I haven't had to pay a dime out of my pocket because the Army has a program called tuition assistance, in which they give me $4,000 a year just to go to school, which pretty much equates to about 16 credit hours each year. So I'm able to go to school and not have to worry about coming out of pocket to pay for anything. You also have the GI Bill, like Erik was speaking of before, which also offsets you when you go to college as well. And it'll give you the opportunity to earn extra money through that, to be able to take care of any additional fees from school, room and board, paying for books. So you have the opportunity if you decide to serve in the military. I know each individual branch has their own ways of being able to help for school, but in the Army specifically, we definitely have ways to be able to do that. And pretty much to keep you from having to spend any money at all.
And I just point out that GI Bill does not have to be used to go to traditional four-year college. It can also be used to get a technical degree to advance your, if you're a welder in the military, you could go out and advance that, or an electrician or HVAC guy, you can go out and use that GI Bill to advance your knowledge in that particular career as well and get more technical certificates rather than just college.
And also, speaking of certificates, a lot of the certificates that a lot of the soldiers earn while they are serving are nationally recognized certificates. So anything they do in the Army, as long as they keep it updated, once they decide to leave the military and what have you, they can still use those certifications to go on to do other things with that same career field. So they'll have an opportunity to do more because they're already certified through the military.
And while I'm not a military person, I work for the Navy, and it's given me lots of opportunities. I got my master's degree for free. They're currently paying for me to get my doctorate. I'm going to school for my doctorate while working right now. I've been out on several ships. I think I got to see a lot of things a lot of civilians never got to see. I've taken cruises on destroyers and on aircraft carriers and little rib boats and all that kind of stuff. And, it was pretty fun and pretty exciting. So it's a very good opportunity, I think, for uniformed and civilian.
Yeah, those are all really great things. Did you have something else, Erik?
No, I just always get a kick how the Navy says we go on cruises.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think that you all hit a great point about your education getting paid for. I know that I had my undergrad paid for in another way, and that gave me a lot less stress going into my master's degree. So I think that is huge, a huge thing for everyone right now is like, how can I get college paid for? And this is, as you guys say, a really great path to that, not having to deal with debt or anything like that after you get your degrees. So really great to hear that point. And as we wrap up, this will be our last question. One question that I'm always really excited to ask these panels right now is, how does your field look right now? And where do you predict it going in the next 5 to 10 years? Obviously, right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic. How does that affect recruiting efforts, Nathan? How does that impact other aspects of things? So I'd love to hear where you are now and where do you think you're going from here?
So now, in terms of just kind of working through COVID, not gonna lie, it's been pretty tough. Just being able to not do as many things as we were before. Like now, we're not really able to go into the schools as much, or kind of go out in the public to talk to people, just to kind of educate them. So what we do now is sometimes we do things like this. We'll have Zoom calls where people can come in and ask questions about the military, about just kind of how military life is and things of that nature. Also, we're able to call the different students at the colleges and the high schools just to kind of see if they're willing to be open-minded enough to just kind of talk about how the military could help set their future up. As far as the recruiting efforts go, things have been slow right now, but they're steadily starting to pick up. So I think towards the end of the year, we are looking at kind of getting back where we used to be before all this COVID stuff hit. But in terms of that, that's pretty much where we are. I think we're definitely looking to be more innovative going forward, just trying to figure out different ways to get back into the community outside of just the general face-to-face like we used to do. So definitely working on some things now, and I look forward to seeing what the future brings.
For us, that my start at career fair was engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, and that is booming at Crane. We are hiring a ton of people. The pandemic, I don't know. There's not a lot of people working on base right now. Everybody's working from home, and that is a little bit challenging if you're a new hire to kind of get onboarded and kind of learn the ropes with nobody there at work. That's a little challenging, but it still doesn't stop our demand signal from all these all the needs that we have, because we have a lot of people retiring, and we need to kind of refresh our employees, how many people are here. And I think we're always going to need, what we've been doing is a lot of virtual career fairs. We just had one big career fair last week, and so electrical engineering, computer science, it's pretty much exploding here at Crane.
And I'll just talk generally, I recently retired from the Air Force, but we were dealing with COVID, and as I was sort of walking out the door, where I see the Air Force going in the future is two ways. There's Space Force, which was just created, and so under the big Air Force umbrella. And so you have a real push towards technology and innovation and operating in space. You also have the Air Force. Fighter jets are incredibly expensive, and we're always looking for innovative ways to drive that cost down, but not at the expense of performance or pilot safety. So the opportunity between the Space Force and the Air Force for innovation and growth is incredible right now. The Air Force really pushes, when I say Air Force right now, I mean both Air Force and Space Force, they really push ideas from bottom up. And so I have seen young airmen have a great idea on how to fix a part on a C-17 airplane, which is the world's biggest cargo airplane and military cargo airplane. And that idea generates for them a check for $10,000. And because of that part, that simple little fix that they came up with has saved the Air Force millions of dollars. And so innovation is really, thinking, a cliche here, but thinking outside the box, new ideas. My generation didn't grow up with a phone in their hand, didn't grow up with the technology that today's students have. And so really bringing that new mindset of how to leverage technology and how to leverage it in a way that saves us money, but also increases or maintains performance. And I think that's where we're headed. I think you'll see a lot more digitization, a lot more optimization of platforms in that regard, wireless and secure, and also cybersecurity. But those things all kind of come together, and I think the future is really in those folks who are willing to think differently and push the envelope and float their ideas up. So there's a lot of room right now for a lot of young folks to do some really amazing and great things, not just in the Air Force. I've been stationed with the Army and the Navy. There's a lot of great things going on in all the services along very similar lines. But I just want to say, as we close this out, thanks for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to get to meet both Nathan and Tina. And Charley, thank you for doing this. If anyone has any questions, obviously they can contact you, and you know how to get a hold of me. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I think that you all provided a lot of really great insight on this field, how you got there, and what are the benefits, and also, the misconceptions of your time. So thank you again for your time, and definitely I will make sure to keep all of your contact information on hand for any students who may be interested in this field. Is there anything else before we go for the day? All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.